You're at Comics Online. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bonnie, I'm so excited to talk to you at Star Trek Chicago. ST Chai, thank you for everything you've done with Star Trek Prodigy. We're just excited to celebrate the world of Trek this weekend.
Oh, thank you for having me. And now I want a chai tea, but I'll make do with this one that I have now.
So let's start off with Star Trek Prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find yourself working in this wonderful animated series?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was originally brought in, I auditioned for the role of Gwen, and I was brought in, I was one of the few last people that they were considering for the role. And while they were looking for, like, they were trying to cast like a bigger name, they brought me in to do all the scratch voices for Gwen and Janeway and a couple other characters. So I was working on the project before they even had the full cast yet, which was such an honor to be a part of it from the very beginning. I mean, and we started working on Prodigy when I came in to start voicing some of the characters. While I was in the studio recording at Nickelodeon, we were all getting notifications from LA, like the emergency alert system of the pandemic lockdown that was going to be happening the following week. So it's so wild to see what a journey it's been being a part of this project and like living through a global pandemic, and but like also seeing the joy it brings to so many people of every generation, not just kids and families, but I mean, most of the fans that come up and talk to me about their love of Prodigy are adults, you know, that just watched it on a whim to see what all the hoopla was about.
Well, it's been amazing to see how inclusive and welcoming the series has been, not only for kids, but for fans of all ages.
They did such an amazing job in the first season introducing Star Trek to a younger generation you don't have to know anything about Star Trek to enjoy the show. And then they ease you into it, and now it's basically a Voyager sequel. Season 2, you know, they bring back so many legacy characters from Voyager and other, you know, I don't want to give away too many spoilers.
You can go to spoilers with it. This is
okay.
Safe space.
Well, you know, the fact that they bring Wesley Crusher back as the Traveler, and he's basically like Doctor Who in the Trek universe. I just love that they used the writers were just so smart with putting the Easter eggs in and bringing back characters that people would get excited about. And what I also love is that they really do care about the lore. For example, one of my favorite things that they did was in season 1 when Janeway's in the brig. The Bernari ensign that breaks her out, it was a character I got to voice. And a lot of people don't remember that one episode from Voyager where Janeway saves, you know, a group of like 15 refugees who are seeking asylum, who are telepathic, you know, who are being hunted down, and she sends them in a shuttle through a wormhole, hoping they get, you know, to the Alpha Quadrant. And now this young little girl who remembers Janeway saving her and her family is now a Starfleet officer, breaking her out of the brig. Like, the writers were so clever, bringing little things like that around and making you feel like, oh, these are people who not only respect Star Trek, but love it so much that they're putting their own love into it. So the fans are getting something out of it every episode. I mean, there's so many Easter eggs in every episode.
Well, and
I'm just rambling. Cut me off whenever.
No, these are great answers. You know, one of the pieces that I really enjoyed was we saw Wesley Crusher return for the end of Star Trek Picard Season 2,
yes.
But it always felt like a missing piece of the Star Trek universe where he never got a resolution, and we never got to see what came next. And knowing that Terry Matalas was talking to the Prodigy team of what was going to happen, but also what they were planning, felt very cathartic to see his journey get, you know, that resolution, but also something a little bit more substantial.
And it's all connected. If you go back and watch that scene in Picard and listen to Wesley's speech, it's connected to Prodigy. He's like, you know, a civilization will fall, but a new, I can't remember the exact line, a new something will rise, you know, and they're talking about the Valnak talk in Prodigy. Like, he's actually, it's all connected. And that I really give credit to the Hagemans and Aaron Walke, who put so much care in making sure everything they did was connected in some way to other pieces, and how season 2 ends with Wesley getting to meet his new baby brother, who later becomes, of course, Jack Crusher in season 3 of Picard. So I just love how connected every show is, and they take such care in making sure that the storyline is like there's a thorough thread that keeps it all connected, so the tapestry of Star Trek doesn't fall apart. Because we've had a few moments where we're like, well, this just messes up everything.
But you also got to have another fan favorite moment. You got to play Gillian the whale.
I did. I always think that a part of me thinks they could have called her Gillian, because then it would have been a nod to Gillian, but also Gillian because it's underwater. Anyway, that's just my little things. What I loved so much about playing Gillian was basically her voice is whale song. They don't actually have her speaking because she's a whale. But the universal translator translates for her. And when we were in the booth recording this, I was just doing it as the computer kind of straight, like, hello, how are you? And then I was like, well, if it's in whale song and there's like some kind of melody, wouldn't it kind of translate to hello, how are you? Like a woo. So the Hagemans loved that idea and let me kind of go with it. And basically it was my excuse to sing on the show. I was like, I want to sing as the computer. And so I found a loophole and got to sing as Gillian, kind of. I mean, it's very, anything for you, rock talk, so it's not like a real, you can't put that to a techno beat and rock out with it. But
someone will now. I mean there has to be
homework, everyone. Yeah.
The other question I have for you is, do you remember your earliest memory of Star Trek?
I became a Trekkie later in life. I do remember as a young child it being on a lot, because I Next Generation especially, I loved Whoopi Goldberg, and so anytime I saw her on the screen I got excited, even though I had no idea what was going on. I just knew they were in space and she had this really cool hat. But later in life, I started like going, okay, this obviously is a big enough thing where enough people love it, maybe I should look into it. And then I moved to Vegas back in 2007 and got a job as an actor in the Star Trek Experience. And I got through the audition fine using my improv skills, and the manager was like, the person who cast me was like, hey, you passed. We're going to hire you as one of these actors. You've got to watch Star Trek. There's only so many times you can use the prime directive as an excuse when improvising with someone. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started watching. First I started with Next Gen. And then once I got into it, I went, oh, this is a whole thing that... Because I was always a big fantasy nerd. I got into sci-fi a little later. So, and now I'm like a hardcore Trek. Like my entire office. Yes. Oh, you have no idea. I know. What a lucky gent.
Todd Stashwick, everyone.
This is Todd Stashwick coming to harass me.
I can't harass.
Okay, I'm almost done. I'm like, because I'm all about that space, no tribbles.
Love it.
But yeah, so Star Trek: The Experience is what got me more into Star Trek, and then I went back to the original series and just devoured it all. So it's been a journey, and then I was part of a Star Trek TTRPG show on Geek and Sundry, which was an online gaming streaming type channel on like Twitch, and it had its own platform. It was actually created by Felicia Day and Will Wheaton. So I was on a show called Shield of Tomorrow, and that got me even more excited about Star Trek, being a part of it in that universe, and did a couple more TTRPGs with Star Trek Adventures called Clear Skies. And when I got booked in Prodigy, I was just like, oh my gosh, I have now started out as a fan working in these little like Star Trek jobs to becoming part of the fandom, and it's so rewarding. And so I do voiceovers for so many different types of media, video games, cartoons. I get to do different conventions all over, anime conventions, Comic-Cons, sci-fi and fantasy literary conventions where I sing about grammar and Lord of the Rings, But there's nothing like Star Trek conventions. It's something special about the fans that they're so welcoming and so they're just wonderful. I can't describe it. No, I'm not trying to diss any of the other types of fandoms out there that people enjoy, like the anime fans and whatnot, because they're also just as wonderful. But there's something special about Star Trek fans, where it's like we're all striving for a actual future that Gene Roddenberry envisioned, and kind of working together to make sure everyone feels included. Everyone's a part of the same ship. Everyone's a part of the same universe in some way. So it's what I love so much about
Star Trek Prodigy really has a unique space within the Trek universe. Why do you think that this one is hit so hard for the fans?
This one in particular, when you look at all the other Star Trek shows, and again, it's mostly because they're live action. So, it always comes down to like makeup budget and different special effects budgets. But, you have basic humanoid type aliens or humans, and everyone's like generically a certain size. What I specifically love about Star Trek Prodigy is here you have a group of misfits of different alien species that are not seen very commonly, and of all shapes and sizes, and also of all genders. What I specifically love about being a plus size actress, like on the curvier side, it's so hard to even just get auditions for things because I'm not even that big. I'm like a size 10, which is average for most people, but it's so hard to even be looked at for roles. And kids and teens, they see things on television, and if they're of a different size or shape, they don't see much representation. And watching a Star Trek show, you think, well, I'll never be able to fit in those uniforms. Those Starfleet isn't for me. I can't even fit in spandex. And then you watch Star Trek Prodigy, and here you have a character who's named Rock Doc, who's 8 years old, in alien, huge, like a giant alien creature who is not only accepted in Starfleet, but thriving and wearing the uniform, and it doesn't matter what size, what shape they are. And that goes for all of the, Jake and Pog. It goes for all of the different characters that they have. And I also love that they introduce Zero. And, in the very beginning, they introduce Zero as Zero is a Medusan. And from the very beginning, they say, I'm not a he, I'm not a she. I am non-corporeal. I'm Medusan. And they just accept it and move on. And it's so, in today's society, you can say, oh, it's woke or whatever. But, we have to say there's so many people who identify as non-binary, and it just helps kids hear they, them in an everyday, just, oh, that's fine. And it just, the entire crew just accepts it and moves on, and it's never really brought up again. And I love that it's just it's a part of that character's identity, and it's not questioned, and it's just something that can get completely accepted from the beginning. And I think it's really important for kids to just have that, like growing up, we just need them to realize, hey, everyone's a different size, shape, gender, uses different pronouns, does this, does that. Like it's so easy to just accept it and move on. And it's nice to see a younger generation just completely embrace it and go, oh, okay, I get it, and move on. So I think that's really what's special about Star Trek Prodigy, having so many friends who identify as, non-binary or trans, to where immediately this cast of characters accepts Zero completely as they are from the beginning. And yes, you can say, oh, but they're an alien, so it doesn't count. But it's like, it doesn't matter. It just makes it normalizes it in a child's vocabulary and helps them comprehend it later in life, when they, get to, high school or college, and they meet friends that they, that maybe use different pronouns, that they've already been introduced to it at a young age, that it's not foreign language to them. Oh, okay. Anyway, yeah. I'm rambling, but it's something that is special. It's important to me, being part of, this community and seeing so many people of different race, gender, body type. That's what Starfleet should be. of all of us working together. And that's what it's always been from the beginning. You know, Gene Roddenberry had this vision of just, you know, what would it be like if we didn't have to think about things like money and war and, you know, just all of that is useless now. And with our world today being so divided from everything from religion to politics, it's so nice to find almost like a safe space in Star Trek, I feel.
I completely agree. And I was talking to Anthony in between our conversation about representation and how important it is. But between Discovery and Prodigy and just all the series, Star Trek Picard, they've done such a wonderful job of making it inclusive.
They really
and I
did.
think that consistency is why it, you know, why Star Trek has done so well with the fans for so long.
Absolutely. And what I also love, you know, in season 2 of Prodigy, they show a relationship forming between Zero and the Vulcan character Majil. Oh gosh, I mispronounced it wrong. It's not Majel, but it's
Majel.
Majel. Yeah, they named the character as an homage to Majel Barrett. And I love that their relationship is more, honestly, it's more of like a sapiosexual, demisexual relationship, considering there's never going to be any physical, there's no physical way that they can be together, you know, yet they care for one another and they love one another, and it's all, you know, they both have this telepathic connection, and they, you know, and there's like this romance blossoming between the two of them. And I just love that they show that in such a beautiful way, that, you know, when it comes to representation in different types of sexuality, a lot of sexuality, like asexuals and, you know, sapiosexuals, they kind of get left behind. They, you know, today's society sexualizes everything. And for, you know, to show a romance that's so beautiful and based on like a mental connection, and like it's nothing physical, like there's never going to be, there's no way they're ever going to be able to have like physical sex. And this is a terrible thing to say about a kid's show, because obviously, you know, they're not going to be doing that anyway, but it's just beautiful to show a romance that's blossomed out of something so pure. And, you know, as someone who identifies on the asexual spectrum, I really appreciated the writers putting that in there. Yeah.
The one other thing I wanted to ask you about, you
Sure.
know, one of my favorite quotes from the last season was, "Even the whales are evil."
I know.
I just
Oh my God.
love that. What are your favorites from this last season?
Oh my gosh. Well, that's definitely one. I even put it on a t-shirt. Being able to, because I'm the voice of the whale, I that was one of my favorite scenes to record. And it's hard to tell because it's such a quick scene, but in the mirror universe scene where Gillian gives away their location, you know, all hail the Terran Empire. Like, if you listen closely, I kind of sing it in a minor key instead of like the major key. That it's very slight. Like, it's barely probably I'm the only one who caught it. But like I sang it not as pretty as the Gillian that you meet in the Prime universe. So I really, really loved that quote. Oh man, there's so many good ones. I love the whole scene with Janeway in her little tank top, you know, like, you know, how she's like, you know, you want my ship, you go through me type of thing, where she's like, you know, you get to see this. There's so many amazing badass moments in Voyager of Janeway just being so protective. You know, she's like the mama, the mother, protecting her babies, you know, and you kind of forget about those moments in Voyager where she just went full badass, you know, tank top, gun, like ready, phaser,
Year
ready
of
to,
Hell will always stand out.
yeah, like kicking the door down, like she's incredible. And you kind of miss those moments. And then it's been so long too since we've gotten to see that side of her, that season 2 just showed she got to kind of dust off her she got to, like, you know, they show her as older and more mature, and Admiral Janeway, Janeway, and now you get to see her like, no, she still got it.
Age is, that gray streak means nothing. She's ready to kick some ass no matter what age.
Well, despite Prodigy wrapping up beautifully, we still hope that there's a chance for more stories with that cast.
I hope for season 3. I hope for a movie. I hope for everything. Because honestly, it needs to be told. It's such a beautiful, beautiful show, and so important, especially nowadays, to introduce kids and the younger generation to Star Trek. And it's such a great family show. Like, to be able to watch it with your kids, to be able to watch Star Trek. So many parents who are Trekkies wish their kids would get into it. And this is such, shows like Prodigy and Lower Decks is such a great way to kind of bridge the gap and kind of get them interested in it. My favorite thing is when, fans say, oh, we got our kids watching Prodigy and now they want more, and now they're all watching Voyager because they know who Janeway is, they know who Chakotay is. It's so cool to see that they're remembering the characters, they're remembering the lingo, they know what a transporter is, they know what a replicator is. It's so cool to see these kids, they get it. And seeing, like, it's a show that the generation of the original series can watch, and then our generation, and then the kids. It's just such a beautiful. I keep saying the same adjectives, and I keep repeating myself, but it's because I'm so passionate about it. I'm very passionate about it.
I'll leave with this. It's absolutely insane that there was a chance that we wouldn't have gotten to see this second season, and that we would have ended with season 1 and everything that you guys all accomplished from the creative and talent that came through in season 2, just to have that lost.
Season 2 was such a important show, and it's linked to everything. When it comes to Picard, and different storylines with different things, and the fact that we just left it on season 1 in such a cliffhanger, like, where's Chakotay? It's like, oh, sorry, hope you find him. It's like, no, you can't leave it like that. And the hype for season 2, the fact that the fans were able to riot practically and get it picked up by Netflix and get it to come back, and that they got to, the fact that they made that happen is just really a testament to the fan base. And it's how Star Trek got relived, back in the 60s when people were writing in letters, the Prodigy fans flew a plane over LA. Like, who does that? That's amazing. And it worked. The networks took notice, and, articles were put out, and season 2, in my opinion, is I'm not even saying like one of the best Star Trek seasons, which I do agree with. But it is. It really is. It's just so beautifully done. Like, everything is so concise. Even the filler episodes. There's not even really filler episodes, but the plot, everything just wraps up so beautifully with a bow. But what I specifically love about season 2, in particular, is that it's just good storytelling. Yeah. Like, you don't, like, Star Trek or not, the sci-fi time travel storytelling of season 2 is just, it blows my mind what the writers did with it. And yeah, the fact that we almost didn't see it is a real, it would have been a tragedy if this just got put in a vault somewhere or ended up on the, cutting room floor, never to be seen by anyone. Because, are you kidding me? It was practically done by the time Paramount canceled it. We were very nearly completely finished with season 2, and we were like, "You're joking, you're kidding me." So, and I with all the strikes that happened as well, I have a feeling Paramount kind of kicked themselves in the ass, pardon my French, because no new content was coming out. With the writer's strike and then the actor's strike, there was nothing getting made, nothing new being made. And they had an entire season of Star Trek Prodigy they could have released during that time and had new content out, And I feel like timing-wise, they really didn't think that through. But yeah.
But it did get released, and that's all that really matters.
That is all that matters. Netflix. Yes. Thank you, Netflix. Mr. Netflix, if you're watching, if you're listening, thank you, Mr. Netflix, because you saved the show. And honestly, I'm so glad it found a new audience. And also a lot of kids watch Netflix. Netflix is very popular with the younger generation. So I'm very, very grateful that it found a new home on a platform that is so popular that, it's not like on just like some random little platform that no one can find, or like that's linked to a different one. There's so many different streaming platforms now that it gets a little overwhelming. But I'm so grateful that Netflix picked it up, because it really is. it really needed to be seen, in my opinion.
Well, let's pivot for a minute. I'd love to talk
Sure.
about your music.
Oh, sure.
I do musical comedy and geek rock as well, so I
Yay,
love pop
really?
culture comics.
Oh, is this a future collaboration?
I would
on the-
absolutely love that.
Oh, let's
but
do it.
I'll bring some music for you tomorrow. But tell me about your music. Tell me about con artists and why you love doing musical comedy.
Absolutely. Well, I got my start in I'm from Louisiana originally, so music's always been a big part of my life, and also I've just been a nerd. So writing, I love writing songs, both non-comedic and comedic, but there's something so rewarding about finding like a funny parody or like finding a funny hook for a song that also shares a love for a fandom. So I enjoy so much trying to it's one of my favorite things. I mean, I sing songs about everything: Star Wars, Star Trek, Princess Bride, Lord of the Rings, comic books, superheroes, Power Rangers, you name it, I sing about it. And I was with a comedy band called the Library Bards. It was just me and my friend Xander, traveling all over singing these nerdy parodies. And now I just released a solo album called Con Artist. One of the things I love about doing, especially doing the convention circuit, is also guesting as a musical guest and sharing my music with everyone. Both, not just the nerdy parodies, but some of my originals. And I have so many new, like, I'm constantly coming up with new songs. I wrote one last night for this convention.
Awesome. You want to give us a little teaser?
Sure. Let me see. Well, because we're in Chicago, I had to do a parody of a song from the musical Chicago. So basically, like, you're gonna register in line because you love Star Trek. Think of those autographs they'll sign. Live long and prosper, Star Trek. Tawny Newsome, Gabrielle, Dawnn Lewis, and Eugene will sweep up the decks. Ethan Phillips, Celia-Rose, Christina Chong, Gates McFadden, Casey Biggs, Anson Mountain, Ethan Peck. So basically, every regional convention I do, I try and do a song for the opening ceremonies that lists all the guests that we have and all the programming that we have for the weekend. So I tend to
love it.
Go overboard. In Nashville, I did Trekkin' 9 to 5 in honor of Dolly Parton. And I have another one that I'm writing for Jersey and another one for Dallas. But I tend to write them like the night before. So I work best under pressure, it seems.
Well, let's wrap up with this. If you had the opportunity to join any Star Trek, let's say time travel back to any of them, which one would you want to be in? You don't have to be a specific character, but which series would be the one?
Hard. Well, it's hard to say because obviously I love Prodigy because I'm already a part of the universe, but I love Janeway so much. Voyager would be one that I'd kind of want to join. However, Data is my favorite character of all time in all Star Trek. So just to hang out with him, I'm trying to think how this is such a hard question because like next gen is great. I feel like if I could go into the Picard era because they're all together. It's all the next gen folk and 7 of 9 and they're kind of like bringing everyone together. I'm trying to find a way to merge them all. Although knowing me, I'd be more of like a lower decks because I'm comedic and have no purpose on a ship. I would be the Neelix of a ship. I'd be the morale officer doing the morning announcements and like making bad food in the cafeteria for everyone. That would be my role because I have no purpose. I know nothing of actual science besides believing in it.